Do you wake up in the mornings feeling more tired than when you went to bed in the evening? Like overnight, you've been hit by a truck, feeling absolutely exhausted in the morning. Here's why. And it's not what your doctor is telling you. So let's talk about why the mornings are the hardest part for chronic fatigue syndrome recovery. And of course, how to finally break this cycle. So here's what happens. In the evening, you're winding down, maybe your symptoms are starting to become more relaxed. And then overnight, your brain waves lower. So from beta brain waves, you might go to theta brain waves, alpha brain waves, and you might really relax when you're falling asleep. That also means that you are less in resistance. And this layer here below is sort of like the layer to the unconscious mind. Forgive me my handwriting. But at night, when we're very, very relaxed, we no longer push unconsciously some stress to the unconscious mind. And sort of the door to the unconscious mind opens up. And stress comes into your life, especially when you are going into a very, very deep sleep. This is the case. And at that moment, while you are still asleep, you're actually getting a little bit stressed and more stressed and more stressed. And then while you are actually asleep, you enter the freeze response of the autonomic nervous system. Not because you did anything wrong. I would actually like to say that you did a lot of things, or maybe everything right, because the ability to have a deep sleep is gold. And that's for a lot of people with a chronic illness almost impossible. But then, when you are entering the freeze response of the autonomic nervous system here, the limbic system in the brain detects that the danger is overwhelming. And the danger is not something from outside of yourself. It's the old stress that you have stored inside of the unconscious mind. It's your body. It's your tissue, your muscles, your fascia. That's where we have stored a lot of stress. And right now, when you're having a chronic illness, you're sort of in the purging pace of your life. It's time for you to enter a thriving state. But in order to do that, you need to release stress from the body. And especially when you feel good, or when you're very relaxed, or when your brain waves are very, very calm, the door to your unconscious mind opens. The stress comes out. So after waking up, let's say an hour later, you start feeling a little bit better. And that's because you sort of close the door to your unconscious mind. Your brain waves get into the beta brain waves. And you start suppressing your stress a little bit better. You push it back into your unconscious mind. That's why after a few hours, let's say in the late morning or in the afternoon, you can do some things like the household or cooking. But the problem is that you're not resolving this. That means that the next time that you enter a deep sleep, the same stress will come up again, causing the exact same symptom. And this can go on for a very, very long time. For me, this continued for many, many years because I didn't realize what was happening. I was trying to calm down my nervous system and I was very good at it. But the better I got at calming down my nervous system, the more symptoms I developed. And this is why. So in the morning, when you are in the freeze response of the autonomic nervous system, you can let it go down a little bit. You have to wait a little bit, so don't go on your phone because that's stressful behavior, especially when you're doing it out of a fear response or a freeze response. You calm down your nervous system slightly. And at that moment, you can dive into the underlying reason, the underlying stress, it's emotional stress that came up at night. And then you can have a release. And that's not easy. So in the release program, it takes around 3 to 6 months for our clients on average to experience a release. But by connecting with the underlying stress. Maybe it's an old emotion of going to school. Maybe it's the emotion of being unwanted, unloved. But by connecting with that, you can become emotional. And maybe you feel like you're a little bit like this, maybe in the eye of the storm. And then you process it, you wind down completely, and then you can go on with your day. So that's the idea. In the mornings, especially the mornings when you wake up with some stress and some symptoms, maybe you'll notice that your mind is pretty full, that you're already overthinking. That's the moment where you can really do some healing work. That's the moment where you connect with the stress in your body in the hope to become emotional. I always say a few tears a day will keep the doctor away. And then maybe it will come again, you know? Maybe there is more stress in your unconscious mind, because usually this is the case. But the good thing is that once you have resolved this particular stressor or emotion, you will never get a symptom again from this exact emotion. So this is your work. This is what chronic recovery really means. And let's say you wake up at 8 or 9, and let's say you can resolve it before 10 in the morning. Then you can actually do some things with your day. Then you can do some positive pacing, interact, have some pleasure, enjoy yourself. And that's how we can make chronic recovery or chronic illness recovery beautiful. So tell me what you think of this. Tell me, what do you think? Do you think this is possible for you? Would you need help? What are your symptoms in the mornings? How are you stuck? And write it in the comments, and as well, like and subscribe and share this with everyone who needs it, because it's my mission to help people and to inform the world what a chronic illness really is and what's the fastest way to move out of it. I wish you a beautiful healing journey. Thank you for watching.